All right, 3 minutes in. Getting ready to go live with Torque this week. Torque Performance, brand new show, second time out. Good to see you guys piling in. Rob Nussbaum in the house. Mike Draco, good to see you, man. Thanks for all the support all the time. Brian Lassiter, whoop whoop, watching from Mitchell, South Dakota. Good to have you here. Keith Kronoff from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Hey man, this is our pleasure to bring you this show, but you can do us a favor by hitting the like and share button. Help us get it out further and further all the time. Going live in 2.5. Stick around with Torque. All right, just 35 seconds left. I think that's close enough. We're ready to get this one fired up and get down the track. Let's go live with this week's Torque Performance. Here we go.
I can't see. Are we live? Hey, John, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're live, man.
I can't see myself, so we'll just get going. I'll just pretend it's my podcast. Yes, there I am. What do you got? Your shirt looks like a Miami Vice shirt. Is that with the logo? Did you steal the logo for that?
When we did the show
with
in
your beard, dude.
Daytona, we did a Miami Vice theme T-shirt for the show.
Oh, very appropriate.
You got a guy laying like burnout style in front of the palm trees and all.
Nice. Hey, I wanted to. We've had a busy week, and I just wanted to thank you for giving me a ride into work tonight. I actually, I was talking with Chris. He has a video actually from the security cameras of us riding in. I don't know if you've seen this yet or not, but I'm gonna post riding this. So I appreciate the ride. So I just wanted to say thanks.
I'm about a half inch taller than those guys.
Yeah, right. I just wanted to say thank you. My truck was broke down. My motorcycle's up in Jacksonville, getting ready to go to TMMR. So I appreciate you giving me a ride into work tonight. So, yeah, right. Yeah, listen, we have to get to the Shine Werks Studio. We, hell or high water, and so I appreciate you swinging by, picking me up. I'm not sure which one of us is which, but
I don't tan well.
I thought, yeah. I'll take the tan one. Yeah, I'm a little taller than you are, but I'll take that. I've always wanted to be a black midget. So, hey, we don't have to be that politically correct here, right?
No,
so we got a good show.
not.
We got a good show. We had a good show last week. Thank you everybody that watched last week and kicked in on all the comments on that. We appreciate that very, very much. Thank you so much. God, this is a little bit of a taller order than what I originally thought it was going to be. I was like, "Hey, Chris, can we just do this?" And he's like, "Yeah, we can do it if you want, but it's a lot of work." So it has been a lot of work, but I appreciate you for Chris and Heather for hooking us up, and John for you put a little bit of money into a studio this week, didn't you?
I did. After last week with the boxes, I had about 800 Saddleman seats on the warehouse rack behind me last week. So everyone was like, dude, what the fuck was with the boxes? I'm like, that's my Saddleman seats. We were talking to Team Saddleman, so I just put my computer, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's great.
How to improve.
Well, and now I've got to go up. I've got to up my game. I've got to get a better camera, I think. I'm using the one that's just inside the MacBook.
Oh,
so.
yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, that feels good. So, no, I mean, tonight's show, we got last week's show, we got that number one out of the way, right? The first one got all those jitters out of the way. And then we added a new segment this week. So Mark Matthews from Texas Performance MC is going to give us a segment. It'll be later in the show, but he did a really nice job on a suspension tech segment, kind of going over some of the basics of some of the things and stuff. Last weekend was a very busy weekend. One of our guests that's here, Jeff Holt, was actually in Atlanta for that race. And I had to get it basically secondhand on Instagram and on the Facebook and stuff. And there was lots of I'm excited. And let me tell you why. I think you can make anything a hot rod, right? Anything within reason. And to an extent, right? And so I really think that the bagger racing thing, I don't think it's kitschy. I think it's actually pretty serious stuff. I mean, obviously there's a lot of people that are putting a lot of time and money and resources and engineering into it. But when anybody criticizes it to me, I'm like, okay, think about it like this. The SCCA, like, you have the Trans Am series, which were factory built hot rods and purpose built cars, like the 70 AAR CUDA, the Camaros and the Mustangs, the DZ302 Z28s and the Camaros and all that stuff. This is nothing more than, to me, like a performance touring or one of those kind of cars that they're doing for the SCCA stuff.
I don't know dick about cars, like, not, you know what I mean. Well, I drive them. Well, and that's about it. So,
well, you're talking about, so a muscle car is not really designed to go around a corner, right?
No, exactly. It's a different style. It's a heavier frame, heavier. I get where you're coming from, but what these guys are doing with these machines, it's impressive. You know what I mean? I watched the race Sunday. Absolutely loved it. I would have killed to be there. That's why I'm dying to talk. I'm dying to talk to these guys about it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I didn't realize, I guess I just wasn't paying enough of attention to what was going on, how fast everything was coming at us. But Atlanta's like 8 hours from here. I probably could have driven up there and actually been able to witness it in person. That's why I'm not going to miss the Salt Lake City race that's coming up. I absolutely have to be at that. And I want to see it firsthand. You know what I mean? Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's impressive. Yeah, I mean, and the number of people that it's pulling in is even more impressive.
I mean, if you look at your Instagram feed, just in that in and of itself, is like how every fourth post is either something you've already seen from one of the bagger races or something that you hadn't seen yet, right?
Correct.
So,
yeah,
kind of makes you want to build one for the sportsman class.
It does.
Let me ask you. I want to make sure.
They're starting to have track days. Like, there's a track day coming up in Ohio for guys that get qualified, because that was one of the big gripes with the Bagger Racing League, that guys weren't able to do the qualifications, the 2 track days, or the different classes have different qualifications. So guys were complaining that there's not enough places there that are offering this. So I think Monday, the 24th, I got the flyer. They're doing a track day in Ohio that actually counts towards that.
Yeah. You know what? I think we should just go actually, if we can, why don't we introduce our first guest? He was a former professional racer. You know, he has a company that specializes in has for a long time too, kind of cutting edge performance, Harley Davidsons for a while. And now it's been a lot of Indians, and he's actually fielding, one of the baggers that we're talking about. We want to introduce, why don't you go ahead and introduce our first guest?
Roland Sands, the one on
Sands design. Yeah.
Yep.
Hello, sir.
What's up, guys?
Hey, what's going on?
How are you?
We're just cruising.
Yeah, you enjoying that nice Cali weather?
Yeah, I had to get outside because the parents and the kids are going crazy inside the house. So I had to actually go outside of the house to get some peace and quiet.
Very good. So I want to get right to it because I've always kind of watched from afar, and the stuff that you did was so cutting edge, you know, back in the biker build off days. And obviously you have, you know, you're second generation in the custom motorcycle industry, and you've taken that, you're definitely next level as far as all of the engineering and the quality of design, and your willingness and gumption to actually cross platforms. So the placeholder picture that we had for the episode tonight was actually a drag bike that you built for BMW, and you know you've always been, you were a MotoGP racer, or what class of racing did you do professionally?
Yeah, I raced 250 Grand Prix bikes here in the United States. I raced 600 Super Sport as well, but then I also did I raced over in Europe, so I raced the Spanish Open Series over in Europe on a 125 Grand Prix bike, and then raced 250 Grand Prix bikes over in England as well in the British Super Cups. So a little bit of everything.
And so that's many different machines, obviously lots of different track surfaces and that. And so how much of that, I mean, obviously that was the precipice that you jumped off from when you started creating your own stuff under the Roland Sands Designs moniker. But how do you introduce the high level of performance and integrate it into Harley Davidson's, and you know, in the not the metric cruiser, but like the Indian platform and that stuff? You were doing that like 20 years ago. I think you were one of the first guys I ever see put inverted forks on anything. You really pushed the envelope on the rider stance back in the chopper days too. I mean, all of that obviously carries over, but how do you parlay that into like a brand and an image and all that stuff and pull it off as well as you did?
I don't know. I just really came up in racing and also came up in custom motorcycles. So I got a real unique perspective on the entire thing. You know, I was the chief of design at Performance Machine for quite a while, and was able to, you know, the bikes that we were building, I was designing all the products for all the custom bike stuff, and then also for all the bikes that we were building in the shop. And anything, it was a bit of a playground back then, because I was able to bring what I knew from racing into custom bikes. And it felt like a lot of what we were doing were first at the time, like just people weren't doing what I was doing, which was rad, you know. And it gave us the ability to get our name out in the scene and to really have new ideas hit the scene. And I think that as people started to realize like performance bikes are fun to ride, and that, you know, you ride a Harley and you're like, yeah, these things are fun and they're cool, but if they were a little bit taller, if they had a little bit more ground clearance, if the brakes were a little bit better. And that's all the stuff that my dad was doing back in the day. So I just really expanded from what he was doing and really brought the racing concept into the custom world and blended those two things. And bagger racing, I guess, is it's like the dumbest thing you can do on two wheels, but also it's kind of turning into the most fun thing you can do on two wheels too. So I'm pretty psyched on it.
Well, but before because I definitely want to hear all about the race team that you're fielding in that, and I have some specific questions about that. But if you go back and look at where you were, say 20 years ago in the industry, you ran a circle of builders that all had their own incredibly unique style. Guys like Tom Foster, guys like Todd from Todd Cycles, the late great Johnny Vasco. The four of you guys palled around pretty heavily at the events and things like that, and yet you all had your own distinctive style that was nothing like each other. So how do you maintain? I mean, like, and I'm only asking this because so many people, like, they're going to go out and you go see a group of guys riding it, they're all baggers. You see another group of guys riding and they're all choppers or all Softails and stuff like that. I mean, what was that like where you're out there with all these different outliers in this industry that all have very different perspectives on how to build a bike?
We got thrust into a pretty interesting world, at the time, like, and it was diverse because we were surrounded by this whole TV show thing. So there was like all this hype with Biker Build Off, and we had guys like Jesse, James, and guys like Indian Larry and Billy Lane, who were at the time really, I mean, they still are legendary builders. And those guys were like doing this big TV stuff. And we're like, wow, hey, what can we do? Like guys, even, I mean, Jesse Rook, ended up being like a part of our circle as well. And it was like this mashup of young guys who were all like to party and have a good time and build motorcycles and ride fast. And none of us really, we influenced each other, but it was never like your style was right or your style was wrong. We all had like a deep respect for the approach that all of us took. And I think that came out in all of our builds. And like, it's funny, like Johnny built bikes and he was like, dude, I'm going to throw some of your style into this bike. And he built this crazy chopper with like 17-inch slicks on it. And one of the last bikes, it was his hard rock bike that he built. And it was like, he took influence, but from what I was doing, but absolutely did it in his own way, in his own style, in his own fashion. And things are a little different today. Everybody wants to ride club bikes these days. And I understand why, because club bikes are fantastic. They work super good and they're really fun to ride. And, but the style seems to have kind of just stopped a little bit.
As being one of the early outliers of, you had mentioned that you were the chief design engineer at Performance Machine for a good number of years. And you had, so obviously you had some resources when it came time to create Roland Sands designs. Do you feel that today how I don't want to disparage anything, but there was a tremendous amount of creativity when the ends justify the means, and you use the tools that are at your disposal. And when you have tools at your disposal, like CNCs and things like that, and CAD and CAM and all the different things that go into that, do you think that kills any of the organic ingenuity that happens, or do you think it just accelerates that to like kind of like a video game where it's leveling up constantly?
I think you have to like use the tools at your disposal to accomplish what you want to accomplish. I mean, I was talking about this with someone today because, I came up in a CNC shop and I wanted to be a custom bike builder. Hi, babies. I'm my kids. Wait.
Family first.
Hi. Hi, babies. Okay. Hey, will you let daddy hang out? Thanks, girls. Those are my kids. I grew up in an NC shop, but it was like at the time, before I was really working in the space and doing design work and things like that, like the world of CNC machines was very flat and square. And if you remember what the bikes of the 90s looked like, early 90s, they were pretty simple, up into probably up until when my dad and I started talking about what was possible in CNC work. And I got this program called SolidWorks. And when I got that program, like the world of 3D design became real to me. And we were able to take what was normally like designed in AutoCAD, bring that into the 3D, and then start designing really cool, interesting pieces. And that's where Performance Machine really accelerated and became this really design leading forward company. And my dad always had like these incredible ideas, and he was always really willing to invest in machinery and stuff. And then he was willing to invest in technology and programming and things like SolidWorks, and it really took a full change to what was possible with machining aluminum. So for me, it was a huge creative tool.
How was so you mentioned the investment that was made in the tools and in scaling things up to being a CNC type shop. How automated was Performance Machine prior to that period of time?
I mean, my dad was always into CNC, he was always into technology, I mean, well, the original performance machine was putting like cast brake calipers onto Harleys. And the reason for that was because guys were building really fast bikes. We had drum brakes. They're building drag bikes. They weren't able to stop. So my dad started sourcing calipers, putting those calipers on bikes. He was also sourcing wheels, whether they were like Kim Tabs, Invaders. He was doing Morris Mags. He was doing spun aluminum wheels and doing all those things to put these different wheels on Harleys. And then he started doing drag bikes and sport bikes. Eventually, he decided, hey, I'm going to sandcast a caliper. He sandcasted the original 2-piston cast PM caliper, which was to me, one of the most iconic custom parts in the industry and still is. Right. And then that had turned into, hey, let's make billet calipers. Let's make something really good. And that just spooled up the whole company at that point. It all kind of was born from the 125x4 billet PM caliper and really turned. Everything kind of came from that.
Roland, you mentioned earlier that the club style was kind of, it's coming to an end, and I can't help, I can't help but agree. It's kind of,
I don't know if I'm not going to say it's coming to an end. I think my point was that the club style is prevalent, especially in California and many places. I mean, everybody's riding club bikes and I think that the history of club bikes, I mean, if you look at where it comes from guys, it comes from clubs, dude. It comes from guys bombing across the highway at 100 miles an hour.
Function, style, yeah.
Form and function, dude. So I don't think there's an end to club bikes. I think club bikes are a forever thing, just like choppers are a forever thing. They have their use, dude. And if I ride a Harley today, I prefer to ride a club style bike because it's comfortable. I feel like I'm riding a motocross bike. I can wheel the thing. I mean, fuck, dude. It just maybe just the more and more performance, or maybe there's a bigger aesthetic twist to club bikes that we haven't taken yet.
Yeah, what do you think the next step as far as that's going to be?
I think it's time for new aesthetic, dude. Like even if you take the club style chassis and platforms and you start adapting that to the MA, you start adapting that to the new Indian Chief, you're able to take that aesthetic, that platform, that feel of riding, because riding a club bike makes you feel like a fucking badass. You feel like a tough motherfucker when you're on a club bike. Right? And then, well, what does a club bike with 200 horsepower look like? What does a club bike with 200 horsepower that weighs 400 pounds look like? And maybe that's where we're kind of going with this whole bagger racing thing, is like, we're going to start with baggers and we're going to kind of go down the road. And maybe in the middle, there's like this place where we're not riding sport bikes, but we're doing something completely new, something newer, and I'm thinking of racing with an aesthetic, and it's not a sport bike aesthetic. Not everybody wants to look like a sport bike rider. Most people don't.
When you were approached about the bagger racing, people were hesitant at first, or were you like, fuck yeah, let's do it?
No, I was like, that's the dumbest idea I ever heard.
What?
No, I'm serious. Yeah, I fucking hated it. I thought it was dumb. When they said they wanted to go race Laguna Seca, I was like, dude, because I raced there. I know that place like the back of my hand, man. I've won nationals there. And I was just like, that's dangerous. Someone's going to die, And then Rob approached me and he really was like, no, we were going to do this. We're going to put the bikes, and we're going to try and make it work. And then I forgot what the straw was that made me do it. I think it was that Indian got into it and they're like, no, this is a good bike to build. And then I was like, okay, now I can kind of see it. And then the challenge is like, how fast can we make these things go? I don't know. It was initially seemed really dumb, and it's not. It's fucking awesome.
Now with the transition from Harley to Indian, like I got an FTR. I'm trying to figure out the Challenger. I want to grab a Challenger. Throw some shit on that. I probably have $6,000 worth of parts sitting out there for a Challenger I don't have yet. So that's gonna be my next step. When you did the jump from Harley to Indian, how was that a step back or was that a smooth transition? How did that go for you?
I mean, for me, Indian's been a great company to work with. Harley's always been difficult to work with, and that it was such a big organization and so many different people, and the people changed all the time. It was like once you got a relationship going with somebody, they fucking disappeared, and so it was really difficult to keep a cadence with those guys. With Indian, we've been able to keep a cadence, and I've been able to maintain relationships, and they understand what we do. I understand what they're capable of. And I, through just like supporting, like say Super Hooligan Racing, which is crazy. I was the first one to win an AMA national on an Indian since like 1952 when I won the Super Hooligan Race in Daytona in like 5 years ago.
Oh man.
Or 4 years ago.
Nope.
Yeah. And that was funny. And it was like their intro to flat track was on hooligan bikes. And then now they've come to fucking dominate, obviously flat track racing, and they've just built like this fantastic flat tracker. So I think you're looking at a company that's like willing to take risks and build really cool shit and build stuff that people haven't built before. So like Challenger was a big risk, I think, but looking at how good the bike works and how fun it is to ride, even as a stock bike, it just starts to inform me that, American bikes, there's something a little bit different out there that's possible in performance, in weight, in a cruiser. I don't know. They're willing to take a step.
Do you find them to be a better starting platform than the Harley? I mean, the FTR, I kept stock for probably the first 2,000 miles. The fucking thing was a ripper. You know what I mean? It's like under 500 pounds, 120 horsepower, stops on a dime.
I mean, to each their own. I mean, when it comes to Harleys, like Harleys aesthetically are always going to be Harleys, and they're beautiful motorcycles, and I think that Indian has a lot of ground to make up. Harley's got such a long history of building beautiful motorcycles, and maybe not everybody thinks they're beautiful. I do, So my job has been kind of to like help Indian come into its own, like this bike that's on the screen right now was, I think, the first custom Chieftain motored customs, was the first frame up Indian that was built. And so we were really trying to go back and show the heritage of the Indian, and obviously that's not a bagger.
I want to pick your brain a little bit about the Indian race bike that we had up on the screen there just before that actual that picture you just showed that had the Chieftain motor in it. That bike here. So can you walk us through kind of what have you guys modified? I mean, obviously aesthetically, we can see that it has the RSD exhaust and it's got your absolute has your aesthetics on it, but walk us through the mechanical upgrades and things that you're able to do. And then tell us what you didn't touch.
We built this bike relatively quick. It was on the track. We got it, and 3 weeks later it was on a racetrack. So it was like a process of deduction. We got quite a bit of help from S&S on some of the critical parts, but then obviously we had to bang a bunch of stuff out. We did FTR 1200 forks that are tuned for the weight of the bike. Those are, and they're tuned by GP suspension, which is really important. It's one thing to throw an upside down fork on a bike, but it's another thing to get them tuned correctly. S&S made the triple clamp. So again, like it's another thing. It's one thing to throw a fork on a bike, but to actually get the correct geometry is incredibly important when you're going to put it on a racetrack. And this bike is as close as we could get to being correct. As far as rake and trail with the geometry that the bike has, you might look, I mean, it's a little bit, the offset of the triples is definitely shorter than the stock bike huge. One massive modification was 17-inch wheels front and back. So 17.3.5 in the front, 17.6 Dunlop Q4s. And those tires are amazing. They're super sticky, basically race tires with little cuts in them. Massive Brembo brakes, 330 millimeter rotors with one-piece radial mount calipers, and those things rip. SBS pads, like the sintered pads, really like allow the bike to stop, which is so important when you've got like a 500 plus pound motorcycle. We did an offset riser mount and R risers, Kraus bar. The bike now has a 7/8 bar with and with a cable throttle. It started out fuel injected, but S&S gave us like a new tune. So we're able to get rid of the stock wiring harness and then replace it with an S&S wiring harness with a cable throttle.
Nice.
And so we got rid of the stock ignition, which there was a lot of lag with anybody who's used a fly-by-wire throttle. You just know there's like a little bit of a disconnect in between using the throttle and actually the butterfly's opening. So that was a big change. It has an aluminum fuel cell with carbon outers, but we switched it out because they changed the weight rule and we had to add 50 pounds to the bike. So that beautiful carbon fiber tank is now the original steel tank, which fucking sucks, but it's part of it. Stock.
You got to find a new way to cheat,
cap.
Man, like the old NASCAR guys.
I know. We cheat, dude. Initially we got the bike down to 580 pounds, which was from 820. So that was initially pretty impressive. The seat and the tail are from Saddleman. And okay, babe. I just got the.
You just got the nod. Okay, yeah, we can wrap up.
let me wrap the bike up for you. Tail section and seat are Saddleman. I'm sorry, guys. It's like 7:00.
No worries.
S&S exhaust pipe. We did carbon bags from AirTech. DID chain, Vortex sprocket, S&S rear sets, and a modified countershaft sprocket. Got rid of the pulley and the belt, and then now it's got a 116 kit.
Nice.
That's from Indian, and the thing rips. I mean, it's a good bike for sure. But
you're not riding it.
Like, no, I've ridden it, but I'm not racing right now. Maybe I will.
No, I get it. I get it. You got little girls.
Yeah.
Well, I just got 2 plates and 22 screws out of my knee about two months ago, and I feel normal for the first time in 3.5 years. And I'm like, I like how I feel right now. I'm not going to let anybody else take that away from me on a racetrack right now.
Good call. Well, listen, I know you got to get to your family. Where can we, first and foremost, can we invite you back and maybe talk about this a little bit more? You know, do we get closer to the next race?
Absolutely.
And then where would you like people to follow you on Instagram and in social media places?
You can
if they're not
Roland
already.
Sands Design, at Roland Sands. You can go to RolandSands.com, superhooligans.com. I think we're on Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook in about 5 years, but we're on Facebook, Roland Sands, at Roland Sands Design on Facebook.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that page in a long time, but we're on it. We're on Facebook. We track it and maintain it and all that stuff, but I do respond on Instagram. Check it out, guys. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. This is our second episode, so we'll get back with you. We're going to go ahead and go to some commercials now. When we come back, we're going to be with our second distinguished guest this evening, good friend of mine, Jeff G Holt, the V-Twin Visionary. We'll be right back in the Shine Werks Studios.
Hey guys, Mikkel here from Clockworks. Today I'm going to talk to you about a fantastic cleaning product that we offer called Shine Werks. I usually apply the product on one side of the microfiber towel and usually have a dry side, so kind of like the Karate Kid, you're going to do a wax on, wax off, clean it with one side, flip it to the dry side, you'll have no streaks left. But Shine Werks is a really great product that cleans and details the entire motorcycle for you. Everybody knows us because of our fantastic Clockworks Flare windshields, but a lot of people didn't know that we also have a great cleaning product. Shine Werks is a cleaning product that will clean and detail the whole bike. Now you can have something that will safely clean and protect the matte finish and also shine the gloss part as well as the windshield and any chrome you have on the motorcycle. Pick up a bottle at your local dealership, give us a call, order it on getclock.com. You can even find us on Amazon Prime now.
Everything we do at the track shapes what we build for the street and the dirt.
You can see how bad these guys want it. A race to the line.
For us, racing is not for the trophies or the glory. We compete because it makes everything we do faster, more durable, and tested to a higher standard. For S&S, racing is the ultimate in proven performance, and we've been proving it since 1958.
And welcome back to the Shine Werks Studio. My name is Jason Hallman. I'm with my co-host, Mr. John O'Brien, and that was a good interview. The Indians have piqued my interest a couple years ago, and then the Challenger, I just have absolutely loved the Challenger ever since I saw it, and then even more so when our next guest had one in his possession here for a little while, and they were doing, I don't know exactly, we'll have to ask them what they were doing. I know they were fitting a seat, and they were, it was very early on when that Challenger was introduced, but we want to bring in our next guest, the V-Twin visionary himself, Mr. Jeff G Holt, very good friend of mine. Is he there? I don't see him. Did we lose him? There he is.
There he is.
What's up, handsome?
How are you, senor?
I'm good. Congratulations, first and foremost, on your nuptials, sir. I'm remiss that I was not able to be there, but I understand. Yeah, I know I haven't seen you with one of those on your finger before, man. But congratulations, you definitely married up, and I wish you both all the best. I love you both. You know that. So we were talking about the Indian Challenger, and you and I, don't want to belabor that too much, but I just want to get a couple questions out of the way. You had one in your possession for a minute, a year or two ago when they first came out. Were you doing some development stuff on that, or were you kind of putting the conduit to get some of the people together to do that?
I mean, typically, I'm fortunate enough to get a lot of stuff first article, whether it be components or bikes or anything. And I think that was the third one that they let out. And I have a pretty good relationship with Indian, and they definitely know how it works with the aftermarket. And, they're kind of limited on their reach with their own parts and accessories. So they kind of gave me free reign to go to certain people and get certain things made. Definitely saddle and seat, and, do some stuff with a few other people, more guys with CNC machines and things like that, and kind of take off.
Yeah, that definitely, that space definitely, that bike complements that type of engineering and that type of production part very well, with the kind of the new edge styling that's on there, and a lot of like mitered corners and stuff. I mean, the bike still flows beautifully, but it does have kind of that mitered look to it in some spaces.
Yeah, it definitely has its own look, which is a double-edged sword, I believe, for them, But I mean, for Indian, it's like if they came out of the box with something looking like a Harley, they were going to rip off Harley, and then of course they came out with something spaceshipy like a Victory, then they were just going to be a Victory. They're still kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't over there at Indian. I was fortunate enough to spend last weekend with Roland. He welcomed me into his pits, and I was there all weekend. And Frankie Garcia, who's his racer, is a good friend of mine. And to see, and across the pits was, the SNS rig with Tyler O'Hara and Indian. And to see the amount of stuff that they're doing, it's my hats are off to both the racers and both those guys. And then, Harley coming in pretty strong now too.
Yeah. And so speaking of traveling and getting out and doing things now, obviously, I don't want to talk too much about 2020, but you were one of the few people that were able to get out and actually put some events on, do a little bit of traveling, which you did a pretty fair amount. You definitely had an active social media account and some of the places you went last year, but 2021 is shaping up very quickly. Daytona's over. It's in the history books. It was 6-8 weeks ago. In the next 6 to 8 weeks, your calendar's already full. You're going to Tennessee, right? You're going to Myrtle Beach.
Tomorrow.
Let's talk about.
Sorry, I mean to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say let's talk about the V-Twin Visionary Tour for 2021. That's a big thing.
Yeah, we do two separate things. We do the performance series presented by Harley Davidson, which is 9 stops currently. And it started in Daytona. Now we're Maggie and I are driving, slow rolling back to Myrtle Beach for that one. We're doing one in Tennessee at TMMR, then Laconia. Then we kind of get a little break and do some bagger racing. Then Sturgis and Four Corners and everything else. And then right in the middle in October, we have the tour, which is in Tennessee. It's the Smoky Mountain Tour. And that's 4 days. You were there last year. It was 4 days of just a bunch of great people getting together and riding motorcycles and kind of, mingling with builders and kind of doing some pretty cool hero stuff even during the pandemic. And we're going to do it again. It'll be our third one.
Yeah. And if I can give you credit for that too, like some of the venues that you pick are not, it's not by accident, right? And that venue in Tennessee there in Marysville, that Harley dealer, I had a conversation with them just about finding out, I called them like, hey, I want to come down there. What do I need to do? And they were like, you need to just call Jeff. And obviously, and then, they kind of, there's nobody micromanaging that. And when you get there, there's nobody micromanaging what you're doing. And it was just, you're right. It's like 4 days of kind of, some people came and went and some people came and stayed and some people unfortunately didn't get to make it. But that was a fantastic event that was a really nice bookend to a kind of a hectic year of trying to figure out where you can go and what you can do in that. And so the venue selection was top notch. Are you going to do it at the same space there?
Yes, we're doing that at the same one. There's a lot of things, I've been really doubling down with Harley this year. So there'll be a lot of different things we're doing, but more fine-tuned and I'm dealing with their marketing people, their experiential marketing people, not like their suit marketing people. So we're going to be able to take a lot more of these events to funner places, which are, a lot less stuffy and a lot less over managed and things like that. I've had some hurdles last year and with some people and I just want to keep it loose and fun and make it easy for somebody to show up, give me a crisp $20 bill, park their bike, get an award, get their bike blasted all over, V-Twin Visionary social media and my personal social media. And, maybe the guy can, move on to the next show series or just be happy where he's at or whatever else. So, it's been, last year was a great year. We tied all those events together with coast to coast rides. I was like, man, if I can't I'm not going to be stuck in my house in California or even our new place in Phoenix, but like we got on the road. Maggie and I flew to Virginia. There was like 4 other people on the airplane, flew to Virginia, wow. Got a bike from Black Bear Harley Davidson and rode it across the United States because there was pretty much nothing to do. Like gas stations were closed. You couldn't go into restaurants. Like it was pretty crazy. That was May of last year. So that was the pretty much the height of the scare before people kind of really even knew anything.
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about I think it was 19. You had your show in Sturgis, and you were going around with the microphone, and you were talking to some people, and you grabbed me out of the crowd, and we started talking in front of everybody that were there about, where we thought this was going to go, where we thought where it had already been, and how we could crank this thing up to the next level. And I said to you, you asked me where we thought we should take it, and I said, we're building all these performance bikes. I think that we need a space to see, do they perform, right? So now there's things out there like the Bell Brawl, and then I see stunt shows kind of popping up, and that's something that there's some dialogue about that. You and I are both old BMX guys, where it kind of feels like this freestyle thing is kind of happening now. Do you feel like the bagger racing is the next logical space to go, or are we skipping a few steps?
Oh man, here we go.
What?
I think Harley racing in general is a really cool thing. The bikes are or maybe I shouldn't say Harley racing. I should say, air-cooled V-twin or American V-twin racing is really cool, whether it's on a road course or a drag race. I think that in all honesty, the bikes are better than they've ever been. They're lighter, they're faster. The suspension actually works, from the factory fairly well on a lot of these bikes. The brakes work fairly well from these bikes, and you don't have to spend a lot more money like we used to on our Dynas in the early 2000s and late 90s. When the Softail came out, of course, I got death threats from fools because I said it was so good and they should get rid of their Dynas and FXRs immediately. And you're talking at that time I had 6 Dynas and 4 or 5 FXRs, like. And I was like, every day I'd walk out to the garage and I'd be like, I don't want to ride any of those things. I'm going to ride this new Softail. And I was never a bagger guy, even when I was the editor of Baggers, I was like, man, they're just heavy. They don't handle, they wobble. Like my last bagger was a 2012. And it was, and I was like, man, this thing's the worst. I'm never going to ride a bagger again. And you got to remember, half that time I was the editor of Baggers. And I was like, man, like, these things need to be better. Like I would just hammer Harley, and at that time, the Victory Magnum came out, and that thing was nice. It had a inverted fork, a 21-inch wheel, dual discs. Like that thing was way ahead of its time. Yet it looked like a spaceship. But like they were already on that tip, and I think that this whole thing about performance has really been pushed along by guys like me and guys like Roland and guys that have kind of just said, and a ton of other dudes, which my brain is escaping me right now, but just pushing that, Todd Silicato, like you said, man, like that was a dude. The guys from Alloy Art, they take, they always brush off all the credit I give them on making rad bagger stuff early on. Now it's just, you can throw them in with everybody else, but they were instrumental in doing that stuff, and so, the performance is here now, and now this new thing of competition is coming, which I can keep going and going, but like I got into Harleys to get out of competition, to tell you the truth. Like I got tired of racing BMX and mountain bikes and working in that industry and seeing all the backstabbing of the racers and blah, blah, blah. And, how, team management fucked people over. And like, I just hope that doesn't happen to whatever we're doing. And as you can see, the difference between Moto America and BRL already within 8 months, it's, why can't we all just get along?
Right. Yeah. Jeff, your coverage of the King of Baggers race was absolutely killer. In the Instagram, you put it out there. Like you and Indian pretty much led the pack as far as covering that race. So that was pretty cool, because I watched it live, and then immediately, it was fucking cool. So I wanted to see more. And like I said, you pretty much hit it out of the park with that. One thing I wanted to ask.
Sorry. I really wanted to focus. Yeah,
go ahead.
I really wanted to focus on what people wouldn't see when they click the live button, like dudes in pits. Like, what did that exhaust look like on the bike? Everybody's mid setups were different than everybody else's. Like, everybody's bar setups were different than anybody else's. And I really wanted guys to see that first and foremost before.
And that's what I'm interested in. Like, how that died. You know what I mean? How's that set up? How's that? You know what I mean? So that's what I was looking for.
Good. I'm glad I did the job well.
Quick question. Roland said that they had to add weight to the Indian. Is there different weight required? Do you know? Because I'm getting confused between the Bagger Racing League and the King of Baggers. Are there different requirements for the Indian versus the Harley?
It's just weight in general. It's the bike's weight in general. Like there's pieces of lead on most of the bikes now for to make weight. So like in anything, whether it's Indy cars, F1s, or whatever, there has to be a weight and a cubic inch measurement where they have to adhere to it.
Yeah, one of the things I saw was that Indian had to be a heavier bike because of the advantages with the engine. So I don't know if that was true or not.
No, I mean, it's kind of crazy because if you saw that Harley was way faster in the straights, but it didn't handle as well in the corners, and I mean, both of those guys, first and second are pretty evenly matched talent wise. Like they know each other well. They dice it up. They've diced it up in a lot of other racing situations. And I mean, they know what's up. Yeah. And I mean, see that live doesn't, I mean, I'll tell everybody right now, watching that stuff live, it's insane. It looks great when you can see it on TV. And I don't care if it's a BRL race or a Moto America race, just get out there and check it out and support it, man. It's insane to watch.
The American Flat Track. That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
What about the riders?
Yeah, the riders. I want to know about the riders. I mean, where's the talent pool at, and where's the talent level at? And you know what I mean? Like, what happens to the guys that are the outliers when it gets popular and all these guys start coming into the mix?
Well, I mean, that's honestly what happened with hooligan racing. Like, they made it. That's why Roland came out with the super hooligans. Like if there needs to be different classifications, or dudes are going to get run over. Right. What I see is,
racing on two wheels. It's Moto America's Superbikes in Virginia.
It's great. Like, guys have to do it, and the only way you can do it is throwing a leg over the bike and doing it. So,
right. Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you look at this. When you look at the field of that, and you look at how fast these bikes are going. I was seeing some of the videos of Bobby from Roaring Toys on the machine he had. I can't remember there was a specific number that his bike was, and it had some significance. But I guess some of the bikes didn't finish, right? Am I right in hearing that there were some problems, or they got real close to not being able to finish?
He crashed in qualifying.
Okay.
A couple bikes were having problems throughout the day. A couple bikes I didn't think were going to make it on the track did. Some of them didn't. And there's, like the Mad Monkey Motorsports guy, like he never even rode a Harley before, and homeboy got on it the day before I got there and was racing it. So I mean, they're doubling down on stuff. He's a qualified racer. There's gonna be a big separation between the fast pro guys and the amateur guys for a little while right now.
Right.
Because it's so new.
Yeah, because it's so new. And I mean, we got guys that are, that are racing same day. Like, they're going back and forth from either the flat track
or the flat track over. Yeah. Jeff, what percentage of the audience was there for the baggers? I mean, you could tell the difference between the Harley crowd and the moto crowd.
There was a lot of dudes wearing fucking cuts there, bro. That's,
that's what I figured. And I heard after the bagger race, it was like, what I mean? Everybody fucking rolled.
Yeah,
a lot of the crowd.
There was a large percentage of people there for that, which is really cool. I can't wait to see what happens at all these other races. I think that, it's a cool thing, and it's really in its infancy. We'll see who's doing good stuff, and like, guys, it's not so serious, you know, like you got guys, you know, like Frankie Garcia out there who have a day job and can keep up. I mean, he was in third place. Like, so, I mean, there's going to be more of those guys coming out of the woodwork, you know, and Frankie, like I said, is a really good friend of mine, and I'm very proud of him for achieving what he's done with these bikes and, you know, always hanging on the podium, you know, for being a dude, you know, multi-talented guy who's raced every kind of motorcycle there is, but his favorite bike's a bagger. And I mean, that's why he's there doing it. He's, you know, he's not making $1 million like any of the other guys, you know. These guys are still, even the two dudes out front, they might be getting paid, but they're not getting paid big bucks.
Right. No. Want to switch gears away from some of the bagger racing and talk a little bit, you know, give you an opportunity to update people on like the V-Twin Visionary. Like, you know, we talked a couple years ago when you launched this, and there was a couple things you wanted to do, and you know, how do you feel overall? I mean, you had talked one time about doing like an annual coffee table style book and things like that. Are things like that still on the table? And what other kind of mediums do you see you getting into? I see your footprint getting larger and larger and larger. Is there a point where you're going to have some additional staffs and things like that to scale VTV up?
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to do a coffee table book and do these things, but man, it hit so hard and so fast. Like, you know, I had a 3-year plan, and we hit that like in a matter of months. You know, maybe 16 months into it, my 4-year plan was gone. Like, we're doing everything, and you know, Maggie's always been there. My partner Dave Rowe's always been there, and then we have a cast of characters, you know, that work with us and for us for nothing, and you know, they're just down with the cause. Yeah, I mean, Jay, you're one of them, dude. You're always willing to help me out, you know, and I want to just keep it real. You know, I hate that term,
right.
But like, I just
but I know what you mean. I mean, how do you put a lid on something that, I mean, the digital world is so infinite. So how do you put kind of the parameters on it to where you create a space where you have like-minded individuals? What's the number one thing that you look for in marketing partners and in new companies, and what's the outlying premise that you see?
Yeah, honestly, a lot of people just still can't wrap their head around what I do for a living. Like, you know, I talk to people at work at places like, well, what do you do? How do you get paid? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you know, there's some kid on YouTube putting Legos together, making, you know, $300,000 a year. Like, it's the internet, you know, you can do it, you know, and I sell air, you know, I don't have, yeah, I got product line, but I don't have a shop. I don't have, you know, I'm not like John, you know, I'm not like you. Like, this is my job, like selling stuff that I make up that entertains and informs people, you know. It's kind of just what I do, you know. Chris Callan knows that, you know, like, and you know, I'm glad that I've been doing it long enough. I can be an authority on it, and people trust what I say, you know, and I've seen it all. Like, these guys, you know, hearing these dudes in these clubhouses thinking that they know what's up, and, you know, that you know, spitting all this language like they invented all this shit, and they don't know fucking jack shit. Like, we've already done this once or twice before these dudes even came up, and now they're the cool kids. Come on, give me a break, bro. You and your little sewing circle need to search out some bigger shit.
Yeah, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? You've got to get into another room. So, well, listen, I know you have to get off this call and you have to get in that van and drive to California, and then you're going to Myrtle Beach. I'll give you a big hug and tell your wife I said hello and that I love you guys, and be safe. And I know I'm going to see you in like 2 weeks, but you guys can make sure you check them out. V-Twin Visionary on Instagram, Jeff G Holt on Instagram. Where else would you like us to kind of direct people to you?
And the Instagram kind of breaks it off for everybody. You know, the website does really good. So vtwinvisionary.com, like you said, man, I can't thank you guys enough. John, you're an awesome dude. You know, Jay, I love you. And Chris Callan is fucking Chris Callan, man, you know? So thank you guys so much, man. I appreciate it. And everybody stay positive and ride your favorite motorcycle.
All right, buddy. Stay in touch. We'll follow you along on Instagram. And we're going to go to I think it's time, John. It's time to go to our new product segment. And this week in the Shine Werks Studio, we are featuring some new product from the Arlen Ness Motorcycle Company. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, this week's Torque Performance new product are the Y-spoke wheels from Arlen Ness. These things are awesome. They remind me of my Moto Mags when I was a kid riding my Mongoose. These are available in 4 colorways plus the chrome. These are the red anodized ones. They're available in blue, gold, and black. All of the colorways feature the black hubs. What's really awesome about this particular wheel is they just released the 19-inch. For the Dynas. For those of you who want to continue to run the 190/19, like myself on my 2016 lowrider, this is the wheel. Dual front rotors or single front rotors. They have hub availability for both. These are available directly online at arlenness.com or any drag specialties dealer. If you have any questions, make sure you shoot them over to us. Right here on my right, you're going to see the questions come up, and we'll take those right after this. Thanks for watching Torque Performance Television.
All right. And we're going to go to, I want to introduce a new segment that we have this week. And this segment is our new tech segment. And this is courtesy of Mr. Mark Matthews, the owner and proprietor and chief mechanic at Texas Performance Motorcycles in Cedar Park, Texas. And he was kind enough to put this little video together. And I will go to that right now.
Mark, I'm with Texas Performance Motorcycles. We're going to go over a couple basics real quick on just how some suspension aspects work on your bike. There's 3 major points, major things that you can adjust on your suspension. Number 1 being preload, number 2 being compression, and number 3 being rebound, are the most common on a Harley suspension. We just kind of want to show you the basics of what adjusting each of those looks like. So right now we have this 2018 Softail. It has all the rebound and all the compression completely out. So when we bounce on this back end, it looks like a pogo stick. It is super fast down and super fast up. So we're gonna add some compression and show you what maxed out compression with no rebound looks like. And then we'll do the inverse and then show you why it's important to kind of balance out everything. All right guys, so we've maxed out the compression. This shock actually has low speed compression and high speed compression. We've maxed both of them out just to kind of show you what the difference is and what adjusting your compression is. So now when we bounce on it, it goes down much slower. The rebound still pops up quick because the rebound is still all the way out. But during compression, it's a much slower. All right guys, we've done the complete inverse now. I loosened all the compression all the way back out, both high speed and low speed. And then we have cranked our rebound in all the way. And we'll show you exactly what that looks like here. So now the downstroke is real quick and the upstroke is super slow. That's what a maxed out rebound setting looks like on this bike. So what we've done now is we've completely bottomed out our rebound and our compression adjustment on this bike, just to show you what that looks like. So this is all the compression and all the rebound both in the bike. So this is your high speed compression, and you can see how much it moves with that force. And then your low speed compression is obviously going to be a much slower force. So I'm actually leaning more on the bike now than I was during that fast force, but it's not going down as quickly because of the low speed compression setting all the way cranked up. On the preload on these bikes, typically you want the preload. Most manufacturers want you to be about 1/3 of your suspension travel down. That way you're in a suspension cycle while you're on the bike. You don't want to be completely maxed out at the top of the range. You don't want to be all the way at the bottom, completely bottomed out sitting on it. So the preload's going to change for your weight. If you have a passenger on the back, if you've got luggage on the back, if you're loaded down, all that sort of stuff. And there's also a little bit of preference in there. Some people prefer a stiffer ride and a softer ride. All that's going to tie into all of your settings. They all work together. There's not one You know, when you adjust rebound, it affects your compression. When you adjust your compression, it affects your rebound. They all tie together. So it's a balancing act. That's why it's kind of important to know these basics of how they work. So while you're out ripping, you can make the adjustments on the go and try different settings. You know, what we typically like to recommend people do is go ride the same route over and over, the same few turns, and then change a setting, but only change one setting at a time. Don't make a bunch of different changes. So change one setting. Maybe bump up your rebound a little bit. Hit the same road again, see how that feels. Come back. You want to bump your compression up a little bit. Hit the same road, see how that feels. But the goal is to only change one thing every time you go and hit that road until you really dial that suspension in to the way that you want it and the way that feels comfortable. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. That was just a real basic overview of what some of your suspension settings. Again, this is a 2018 Softail with a Racing Brothers shock, so it has a high-speed compression, low-speed compression, rebound, depending on what shock you have. You may have rebound only, you may only have low-speed compression and rebound, you may only have high-speed compression and rebound, depending on what the manufacturer of the shock wants to give you. Make sure to check us out on Instagram, Texas Performance Motorcycles.
Matthews for that awesome in-depth tech thing. You know, he's one of those guys. I spent time with him when I was in Cedar Park a couple months ago, 4 months ago now. God, time flies when you're having fun. And he's kind of got this oracle bit to him where he's hyper intelligent, and you know, he's like a processor while he's talking to you. He's very, very adept with tools in his hand, and he's one of those higher level guys that can read a data chart and stuff like that. So do you know what time it is, John?
Yep.
It's time for my favorite segment. So I'm not going to tell you which one's it. So we're just going to, this is what I want to do. I want to show the clip. We'll make fun of it a little bit. And then I want to wait and then go to the next clip just in between these clips. But I've got my list here. Go ahead. And so this first one, I'm trying to come up with names for these things, right? And so I don't know. I can't come up with a name for the first one. But we'll go ahead and I'll have Chris run this. And then I think you sent me this one. This is a pretty good one. What just happened there? I don't know. I want to see that one again because I'm not really understanding exactly what I just saw. But I think I just saw somebody do a wheelie, fall down, and explode. I want to know what was in his pants.
What exploded?
I don't know.
Look at that.
I'm not sure if something exploded and knocked him off the bike or. Oh God, that one! I've got little tears coming out of my eyes. That one made me laugh. I watched that one a couple times. So the next segment that I came up with, I entitled this one "Spank Me," and so we'll go ahead and run this one for you.
Jesus Christ.
These kids, this is in Florida too, I think, because those are palm trees. So I didn't see if that's A1A or what's going on, but I kind of got to give it to this kid, man. He's putting it out there. You know, I don't know what he's looking for. I don't know what you're trolling for when that's the way that you ride. And I don't know who was filming or what he was trying to tell him, but I call that one "Spank Me." And that was I just got that one off of at Harley Bike Life. So if you guys aren't following that, that was
he's pretty good.
Funny
His
stuff on there.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that stuff's pretty good. This number 3 is from Big Lance C. That is Lance Corey from Thrash and Supply. This is his father's video. It's on his reels, and I call this one "Death to CVO."
I saw this one.
Dude, look at the Pepsi bottle in the bagger lid. There's a Pepsi bottle in there.
You think they said "fuck it"? It's totaled.
I guarantee you. I absolutely guarantee you those are the two most careless tow truck drivers and the most carefree owner. The only thing I hope nobody got hurt when that motorcycle went down. But that one was good.
Imagine laying there hurt looking over, and they're fucking dragging your bike like that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm insuranced up in case that ever happens, knock on wood. But I still, there's something disheartening about that. And if you look at when they pan the camera around, if you go to @BigLanceC, if you go to his page and see that one, they're out in the middle of fucking nowhere, dude. Nowhere. So that was good. So on our fourth and final one for the regram for this week is everyone's already seen this one, but I was looking through trying to find some stuff, and I'm like, dude, this one is I don't know whether to title this one Mashu or Now Walk It Out. So we'll go ahead and we'll play this one. This is our fourth and final clip from the gram. Bruh. It's like, bruh, what happened? Dude, did you see the shoe? Did you see the shoe, John?
The shoe was great.
Why is it every time someone does that?
One more time. Did he break it all?
Dude, not at all. And if you look, he's looking to the right. So I think the only premise that I can come up with, because I'm making up this gentleman's backstory, right? He's going down the road. He's got his modular helmet up. He's got his eight hangers, nice looking white Road King, right? Looking over at a car full of ladies, right? And just absolutely doesn't see the Chevy. No brakes.
None.
And I have to say that I think that's probably what saved the day, was not getting on the brakes and getting all freaked out. He just hit that thing, but dude, he was stumbling like a bum.
He had no idea he was hitting it.
Oh God. So listen, if you guys want to be featured on our From the Gram, make sure you hashtag Torque the Gram. Make sure you're following us at Torque Mag USA on all social media. This episode and all further episodes will be on our YouTube channel that was just created. It's Torque Mag USA. You can follow us on Facebook. If you're on the Cycle Source page right now, you can follow us on Facebook at Torque Mag USA. We're Torque Mag USA on all social media platforms. John, we got our second episode under our belt, buddy.
We did.
Good. Yes. A round of applause for everybody. And so I just want to let everybody know what I'm going to be doing this weekend. I'm going to, I think we've got some audio for that. Let's see if we can get Chris to play that for us.
We sit around and cook some soups and eat bread and desserts and just get all fat and sassy.
So I'm going to be getting fat and sassy this weekend. What are you going to do? Oh,
I don't have much going on this weekend.
Really? Well,
yeah. I got a little project on my Road King I got to finish up. And that's about it.
You got to put some more stickers on that window.
Yeah, a couple more stickers on the window.
Well, I appreciate you for.
I had a killer glare.
No, yeah, I get it. Well, I mean, you can grow some hair on top of your head. That'll kill some of them.
No,
not happening.
Raw sex appeal.
Yeah, I've got to grow my beard out. You and Jeff G were calling me out with them perfect beards, man. You guys got them pirate beards looking good. You got that Phil Anselmo thing going, that Pantera. So, all right, listen, everybody, have a safe and amazing week. We will see you back here on Facebook next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard.
Camera improvements.
Difficulties.
Technical
improvements.
Oh yeah, sounds good.
Oh God. Oh yeah.
All right, everybody. See you next week.